In this lecture, we are going to add controls to the form. This is going to be a two-part lecture series on adding the controls. The first control I'm going to add here is called the table layout panel control. This control is going to help us later to align other controls we will add to the form later. So to add one, you click on your toolbox, and within the toolbox, expand the containers, and you should see one that's called table layout panel. So double click on it, and it should just show up on the top left corner of your form. The table panel, this here, the table layout panel, works just like a table in Microsoft Office Word. So it has rows and it has columns, and also the individual cells can span multiple rows and column. Each of the cell can hold one control. For example, you can hold a control like a button, a checkbox, or a label. Let's change some properties for the table layout panel. So make sure you've got it selected, and look inside the property section here. We're going to change the property. We want it to fill the actual form. When changing properties, always check the name of the properties you're changing. Make sure it matches with what you're actually changing. So you don't want to be changing the wrong property for the wrong control. So what I'm going to do, I want to dock it so that it fills the entire form. There's a property for that called dock. So at the moment it's set to none. So click on it and select the middle, and that will fill it up. You can see it's filled up the entire form. Next thing we want to do is reconfigure the rows and the column. So you can see this little triangle here. Click on that and click on edit rows and columns. So we'll start with the columns first. While the column is selected, we're going to change the percent. So for the column, the first column, there are two columns. The first one, I want to make it 15%. So just type in 15, and we'll go to the second one. The second column, I want to make 85%. So I type in 85. Okay, so that's first column, second column. Don't say okay yet. We're going to do the same for the row. Click down and select the rows. So we're going to change the property for the row as well. The first row, I'm going to make sure you've got percent selected. The first row I am going to set to 90%. And the second I am going to set to 10%. Feel free to, to slightly amend the percentage. This is just, just a demo. All right, we've amended the row and column now, and then you can click this OK button. Click OK, and you can see it's resized. If you're not too happy, you can use this little marker there to just resize it to your choice, but we'll leave it like that for now. Let's add another control. This time I want to add a control to the table layout panel, which is this one. So make sure you've got the table layout panel selected. That will ensure that we are adding the control to this panel here. So click on the toolbox, and the control we want to add is a picture box. All right, so double click, and notice I've added the picture box to the top corner here. You can tell we are in the right control because the name here says picture box 1. Notice the picture box has got a little triangle. Click on it and select dock in parent container. So it will now dock itself inside the table layout container. So click that and that will dock itself inside the parent container. Select the picture box. Make sure you've got the picture box selected. You can see it here. Because we've docked the picture box inside the parent container, it will automatically assume the docking property of the parent container, which will fill the container. So if we go back to if we look at the dock now, it should say fill for the dock. Let's scroll and look for the dock property. You can see the dock saying fill because it's inherited that from the parent container. Another property I want to change for the picture box is that I want to make sure that the picture box span both columns. Okay, so to do that, there is a property called column span. It's currently set to 1, so I'm going to change that to 2, and that will make it span. If I click enter now, you can see it spanned both columns and the rows. So we've got both columns now spanned properly using this column span property. We're going to add one more control before we wrap up this lecture. So we want to add a control into the table layout panel. So click on the table layout panel and you can tell you're in there because the properties will show that. So click on toolbox. We want to add a checkbox. So double click on checkbox and you can see it's put a checkbox in there. So while the checkbox is selected, you can see by the name of the property. Let's change the text name. Okay, we want to change the actual text from checkbox and I'll type in the word stretch. Okay, notice the name has changed. The reason the checkbox was added here is because the picture box has taken up the first 2 cells in the table layout panel. So that's it for this lecture. We're going to end the lecture here and we will add more controls in part 2. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.